everyone, welcome back to the HFAC Comp. Over the last week or so, we've been discussing qualitative ways to analyze a business. We talked about NCIS, Porter's Five Forces, and SWOT analysis. Now, we want to provide some information about how you learn about businesses. How do you know what a business does? Can you tell from the name just like what they do? How do you find the financial statements for a business? When we're going to say that we're going to analyze financials and model out these companies, we need some information to do that. Where do we find that? A lot of this information is actually public and is filed with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, or the US SEC. The SEC enforces securities laws in the United States, and that means everything from running how markets function, exchanges function, how derivatives traders can operate, how big banks can operate, but also how publicly traded companies have to report their earnings and their other qualitative information in a way that is public and accessible to all investors. This maintains a level playing field for all investors, whether you're a large hedge fund or a small person, just a single person trying to invest in your account. So we can learn about a business by going and actually reading these corporate filings. So to do that, we want to go to sec.gov. This will take you to the homepage for the SEC, and I have it open up over here. Now, on the top right, we're going to see this button that says Company Filings. And when we go ahead and click that, we'll be taken this place to search Edgar. Edgar is how they manage their filings for the SEC, and they have hundreds of millions of filings probably now. So we can go and do a company or person lookup, and like it says, you can use the ticker symbol. So we're going to use the ticker symbol for Lululemon. Now remember, Lululemon is going to be our case study over the next several weeks and for the rest of the semester. And you're going to be discussing that a lot in section. So let's open up Lulu by looking at their ticker, which is Lulu. Click over here, Lululemon Athletica. And we're taken to this page here where we see all the different filings that they've passed, all the top 40 filings that they filed recently. So let's just quickly look at some of the different types of filings we can have real fast, and we'll jump into the core filing, which is the annual report. So the first kind of filing that we'll see here that's kind of important is the 8K. And an 8K is normally when there's a material change to the business. So let's just quickly take a look at this 8K. We can click that button, and then you'll see this document format files, and you want to click the document here under the documents column. And whenever you see this IXBRL green thing there, that's normally the document you want to use. So let's click over here. And we'll see that what is the material change that happened to Lululemon is that they are restarting their share repurchase program. This is a material change, and this will affect investors, so this is something that they should say publicly. Again, when they file it with the SEC, it's assumed that all investors have access to it, nobody gets it any earlier, so this is considered public information. So another very common 8K you'll see here, we're going to look at this other one, is when Lululemon files their earnings. So here on September 8th, they issued a press release announcing its financial results for the second quarter. And it says the company's press release is attached as Exhibit 99.1. If we want to look at Exhibit 99.1, we can go here and see EX 99.1, and you can see the actual earnings statement here. Again, 8Ks, material change to a business, whether that be if they acquire another company or maybe release some really big product or something like that, they'll file an 8K. Another document is the 10Q. This is a quarterly report, and companies file this to include their financial statements on a quarterly basis. Again, we can open it up here and take a look. The main item here is the financial statements for the quarter. You don't want to worry about analyzing this now. We're going to go over on how to get in the nitty-gritty of financials over the next few weeks, so let's not worry about that now. They might also include some commentary for the quarter. So we can see here this was the most recent quarter in 2020, fiscal quarter 2. That they had information about the COVID-19 pandemic, etc., how this affects their business. And then you can also see a lot of information here about very specific details in the accounting. So we're not going to really look into that. Item 2, we can see management's discussion and analysis of financial condition. Again, this is now where they're going to have a little bit discussion about what they're thinking about the business. Maybe they might include some information about their outlook, how many stores might have been closed, etc., right? In February 2020, we temporarily closed all retail locations in mainland China. In March, they closed all the retail locations in North America, Europe, etc. So this is, again, information very specific to this quarter. So let's quickly come back here and look at another form that can be sometimes useful. Is this Form 13. This Form 13 is an indication that there was some ownership change of the business. That means somebody went ahead and bought a large number of assets. So for hedge funds or mutual funds or etc., when they buy a large number of shares in a certain company, more than 5%, normally they're required to file a form with the SEC that says that they are holding this information. And here we can see that 5.1% of the shares of Lululemon here are represented by and owned by T. Rowe Price, which is a mutual fund provider based in Baltimore. So we can go ahead and see that they filed this form here. Sometimes can be useful. There are a bunch of websites that allow you that aggregate these SEC Form 13s and allow you to see what a hedge fund is kind of holding in a not really real time, but in a quarter delayed fashion or so. Now, the document that we really want to delve into is the 10K. So just like we had the 10Q, which is the quarterly report, we also have a 10K, which is the annual report. So let's jump into this over here and take a look. Again, we're going to go and click 10K, and we're going to click this first row and click document. Now, the 10K is not only going to have the whole annual financial statements, but it's going to have a lot more qualitative aspects of the business. So we can look at part one. Notice, if you remember in the quarterly report, the part one was financial statements. Here, part one is actually a qualitative discussion. So item one, what is the business? What do they do? They're a designer, distributor, and retailer of healthy lifestyle-inspired athletic apparel and accessories. So we kind of here very quickly see what does the business do. This is the fiscal year ended February 2nd, 2020. A lot of legal language will be here, but what are the segments that they operate in? Company operates stores, direct to consumer. How many stores do they have? Oh, they have 491 stores in 17 countries. Oh, what are those 17 countries? We can look at this table over here. See, they have 305 stores in the United States. What's very good in a lot of these documents is normally you'll see a comparison to either the previous quarter or the previous year. So if you're looking at an annual report, you'll see it compared to the previous year's report. If you're looking at a quarterly report, you'll see it compared to the same quarter to the year prior. So here we see they had 305 stores this year in 2020, but at the same time in 2019 they had 285 stores. Here we see a little more information on the direct-to-consumer part of the business, other channels that they can make revenue. How do they market? We know Lululemon is a business that really has social media and really tries to leverage that as a key marketing tool, and it really discusses how that works here. Another thing that's important is they don't own or operate any manufacturing facility. So that's something that's important to know. Where did the products come from? 33% came from Vietnam, 16% Cambodia, etc. So this is, again, all kinds of information you can find out in this document here. We can move on to risk factors. What are some of the factors that the management team believes could be an issue? Now, remember, this document was published in February, but it says the recent COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak may adversely affect our business operations, store traffic, etc. And what we saw in March, that happened. And you can see that this was in March. They discussed that a little bit over there. But it's a competitive market, reliance on suppliers, etc. So all kinds of risk factors that might be pretty obvious, but are good to be spelled out. And some information about them is included over here. So when we scroll down, we're going to keep on looking out. Again, we can see some property. So where if they own any assets, you might see that information over here. Here they're trying to tell you how Lululemon's a good stock because this is market for registrants, stockholder matters, etc. So they're telling you how Lululemon has outperformed the S&P 500 and outperformed the S&P 500 apparel, accessories, and luxury index. So you see some market information here. Now we'll see some consolidated financial data. Management will discuss some financial data over here. Just notice that this is a very comprehensive financial statement. This is not the full financial statement that comes a little later on in the document. Financial highlights, a lot of the same stuff we saw in the 10Q is now going to be over here. Results of the operations. Again, we're able to compare this information to the previous fiscal year, net revenue, gross profit. All kinds of stuff. And if you actually look in some of these segments, it could be very useful. So net revenue, right? When we look over here, we just see the net revenue line. But if we actually look in the net revenue subheader here in this section, we'll actually see how much comes from company operated stores and direct to consumer. Again, no need to really worry about this right now, but when we come to modeling it, some of these nuances will become quite important. So essentially, I just want to give everyone here show how the 10K looks. What are some of the key sections? When we come down to item 8 is when we'll actually see the full income statement and the full financial statements here, so we can see this is the comprehensive income statement there. This is the comprehensive balance sheet over here, whereas the other one only had like 5 lines on it. So yeah, and then all kinds of notes on everything. So anything from like how they might track liabilities, or like what kind of credit facilities or what kind of debt they might have, who gave them their debt, what is the interest rate on that debt. That stuff might be included in the appendix here, where it talks a lot about these. So these can really be a great read. Warren Buffett says he loves reading them. So definitely when you want to learn about a business, this is the first place to take a look, is the 10K document of the company itself. Again, you can find this on the SEC website. Now, there's another great resource we have access to, being Harvard students, through Harvard Business School. And we'll be posting a link on information on that in the description below to sign up. And that is Factset. Factset is a private company that aggregates financial data, and students can get Factset for free while they're students. So again, I'm going to post the link for that in the description of the video here, and you can go ahead and I'll take you to the Baker Library website and show you how to sign up. But when we log into Factset, you'll be greeted with a page like this, and let's see what information we can glean from Factset. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to search Lulu to search Lululemon. And when we come here, we'll get their snapshot page. And the snapshot page will include a lot of information, everything from like a business description. Notice how this business description comes exactly from the 10K. So this is where a lot of this information is coming from. We'll see some key statistics, and some of this information, such as the market cap and the EV, which is enterprise value, we're going to be talking about that in the next few weeks. We can see all kinds of stuff, industry metrics, same store sales, net sales per square foot in retail stores for January 2020. So you can see that information here. Business segments, how much revenue does that bring in, etc. So they've kind of broken out the financial statements for you and made it a little easier to try to find information. So if you don't want to Command F in the financial statement, or you don't really know what to look for, this will have all kinds of stuff here. So some interesting tabs are the supply chain tab. Can be pretty cool because you can get a very cool chart sometimes of how companies are connected. So here, what does it say? Like, Lululemon has some relationship with this Coupa software, enterprise management, Afterpay. This equity REIT probably owns some of their real estate holdings, etc. So you can sometimes, this information can be pretty cool there. Another important tab is going to be the capital structure. Where does a company get its money, especially in terms of debt and stock? And we'll be discussing this a lot more when we get to valuing a business. So no need to worry about this now. I just wanted to point it out. Another important tab here is the comps tab. Again, we'll discuss comps analysis later on. Just want to point it out now. If it loads, which it is slowly doing, Factset can be a little slow sometimes, we can see some companies that are similar in similar business segments as Lululemon is. So these can be good companies to compare it against. Some other good things to look here now is news, research, and filings. So we can click here, and this is going to try to aggregate all the information about the company. So here, officer surrenders. I don't really know. This has something to do with taxes, but I can click it. And we can see this is some statement and change in beneficial ownership of securities. The chief product officer went ahead and acquired 46 securities at $295 each. So anytime an insider in the company, somebody who works there at an executive level position, goes ahead and acquires stock or something like that, this has to be, again, also be reported to the SEC in a Form 4. So that information is there. We can see this is a news release that came out just a few days ago. This is probably, this is an 8K. So the same 8K that we saw over there about the stock repurchase program is here as well. Let's see if there's anything fun. Okay, so we see this thing here. This comes from Twitter. So what happened? Someone tweeted about Lululemon, and Factset aggregated that information. You don't know where information will be coming across. Peloton held an interactive investor day, and probably because this is a related company, Lululemon's name might have come up in it. This was why this has been listed here. So investor days, companies will have information about what they do, etc. They'll open it up to investors. They'll have presentations, etc. Management will speak. Another one that's great here. So again, Apple announces Fitness Plus, a competitive thing that somehow might be related to Lululemon, so it's going to be included there. So you can also look over here, events and transcripts. So normally there is an earnings call after an earnings release where management discusses it and takes questions and answers from sell-side analysts, so people working for equity research and big banks. And we can see over here the Call Street report, so we can actually get a transcript of this last earnings call over here. So this is not the transcript. I actually like to read this. This is like the summary outline. But if you go here, that's the Call Street report. You can get the corrected transcript, where this is actually the word-for-word transcript, and you can see like question and answer section, etc. One last thing you can also take a look at is estimates. So like we said, the people who ask questions on the earnings calls are sell-side equity research people. They also produce equity research reports, and that information normally gets aggregated in Factset as well. So you can go ahead and see that information over here as well. So you can see like a target price. Unfortunately, Harvard does not subscribe to actually reading the actual reports, but you can again get access to a high level bit of information here. One final place that I want to show you where you can get information is from the company itself. So if we actually go to Lululemon's website and we scroll down, we will probably find all the way at the bottom, we will find an investors tab under About Us, and a lot of the same information will be made over here. You can see the same press releases, webcasts, all that stuff, corporate governance, information about management, etc., financial information. That type of stuff is also here. What you might also notice is that they will have maybe some PowerPoints or presentations that they gave to investors that you may not necessarily see in the SEC website. So let's look here for this like Q2 2020 result, and we can see this quarterly infographic. So this looks like a slide that they have presented here with this information. COVID-19 has really upended this. So we don't have many recent ones of these, but let's go ahead and take a look. Here. So we can see that they were at this ICR conference in 2018. Again, just an example, but you can see this presentation that they gave. And let's take a look at this presentation. So this is an investor presentation. Sometimes it has a lot of information. So it has some information about market growth, etc., some pictures of their stores. This is not really that useful. Maybe this is useful. This is just a Q3 summary that year. But sometimes these can be very helpful. So it's definitely a good idea to take a look at the investor relations site of the company that you're analyzing, because you never know what you're going to find. So we can look at this other one, but I don't think this is going to be that helpful either. Again, some information, product innovation, how big their segments are. Again, a lot of this information is already going to be in the actual documents in the SEC filings, but again, there might be some stuff here that's not. So this is all considered public because it's on the website. Anyone can access it. So they are allowed to put material information here as well. So you can see revenue growth profile, how they're growing at 26% CAGR up until 2016 when this presentation is from. So something to keep in mind when you're looking at a business. So just to recap, we've seen 3 places where you can find information about your businesses. The first one is the SEC. Again, this is public information. Anyone can access it, sec.gov. The second one is Factset, which is a service that we have available to us through the Baker Library at Harvard Business School, and we'll be posting a link in the description of the video here on instructions on how you can sign up for it. And lastly is the investor relations website for the company you're looking at. So in this case, that is Lululemon. We see the investor relations has all kinds of information. So these are 3 great sources of learning about information on any business you're looking at. And that's pretty much all that we're going to discuss for this week. We wanted to show you how to find this info because this is very important to learn early on. Over the next few weeks and section, you're going to be discussing Lululemon and actually delving into the financial statements. And we're going to show you actually how to manipulate these statements in Excel a little bit. So we'll see you next week, and we're going to delve into financials then. But yeah, have a great weekend.